Hi, good morning. Welcome to Fadel Design. Today we are going to discuss about glass and glazing. Under this discussion, we will tackle the glass manufacturing process, the type of glass panels, factors to consider in choosing glass types for the project, glazing, glazing terminology, typical glazing details. Okay, so let's begin. So what is glass manufacturing process? Glass manufacturers made glass from melted silica, sand, soda ash, limestone, dolomites. They sometimes add glass cutlets or recycled glass. These raw materials are mixed together, charged in a furnace with 1600 degrees centigrade to form a molten glass. They took the molten glass out of the furnace to be shaped and cooled down afterward. Additional materials such as iron oxide or cobalt can be added to the mix to give a green or blue color to the glass. So, how the glass panel been made? First is putting all together with the raw materials in the furnace at 1600 degrees centigrade. The furnace will melt and refine the raw materials. Then they should mix these materials in the right proportions. These all of these materials, and then the molded materials from the furnace flows into the float bath, and then the float bath is a large shallow mat bath of molten metals usually made of tin. In over 1000 degrees centigrade, the molten glass is fed into the tin bath, which contains molten tin in an inert gas atmosphere. The molten glass spread over the molten tin and form a continuous ribbon. After that, if one of them is producing a reflected glass surface, then it followed coating procedures in which either they apply the hard coat or a soft coat on the surface of the cold ribbon at 600 degrees centigrade. The third step is annealing. This process will remove the internal stresses built up in the glass. The annealing process allows the glass ribbon to pass through a layer that eliminates any pressures on the glass surface and gradually cool it to give it final hardened form. On the other hand, the cooling process for tempered and heat-strengthened glass are different, which we'll discuss separately. So what are the types of glass panel? So basically, we have annealed glass, heat-strengthened glass, fully tempered glass, laminated glass. Annealed glass breaks easily, typically in long, sharp shards. Annealed glass is also known as clear float or float glass, known for its flatness and optical clarity, used where clear and undistorted vision is required. Thickness range from 3 to 25 millimeter. So when it breaks, typically it is long, sharp, and sharp. It is not safe. Next is the heat-strengthened glass. Heat-strengthened glass, also known as semi-tempered glass, is a semi-tempered glass, keeping the normal properties of annealed glass. It induces a surface compression of 6,000 to 900 psi compared to fully tempered glass, which has 11,000 to 20,000 psi. Heat-strengthened glass with its appropriate thickness and quality can eliminate opportunities to breakage because of thermal stresses and wind loads. So when it breaks, 2 times as strong as annealed glass, resistance to breakage, this is 2 times as strong as annealed glass, breaks into large shards. Now, the fully tempered glass, on the other hand, is also known as tough glass. It's a safety glass processed by controlling its temperature or chemical treatments. Tempered glass is about 4 times stronger. It is 4 times stronger than the annealed glass. In theory, the tempering process puts the outer surface into compression and the interior into tension. The tempered glass in certain stresses shattered into a small granular chunk compared to annealed glass that split into jagged shards of glass. In cases where safety glazing is required by code or responsive design, then laminated glass should be specified, and we will discuss it later. So when it broke, this fully tempered glass, So resistance to breakage is 4 times as strong as annealed glass, shattered completely in small pieces, typically vacating the frame after impact. So it's scattered. Now, in the laminated glass is the resistance to penetration. Breaks on impact, tends to keep shards intact after breakage, made of 2 or more pieces of glass adhered together by interlayer. So it can be laminated using the UPVDF interlayer, or SGP, or PVDF, or P, or any interlayer available. We will discuss it in separate discussion about laminated glass. Um, we can do the lamination uh, for both heat strengthened or both fully tempered, but you cannot laminate the heat strengthened and fully tempered together because of uh, different different properties of glass. It can't be. So laminated glass, resistance to penetration, break on impact, tends to keep shards intact after breakage, made of 2 or more pieces of glass adhered. So it's still intact when it broke. Right? So next discussion is about translucent glass. Also known as floated glass, it is transparent glass that is turned opaque through sandblasting or acid etching. Also known as pattern glass by having one pattern surface and one relative flat surface. It creates blurring images whilst transmitting lights. It has 10 to 20% opacity. Thickness ranges from 4 to 6 mm for pattern glass and from 5 to 10 mm for frosted glass. Next type of glass is the wired glass. Wired glass used where fire resistance is required. It has a nominal thickness of 7 mm. A clear polished wired glass or rough wired glass would have 12 mm of or 20 mm square mesh for hexagonal wired glass. Alright, so let's move on to the factors to consider in choosing glass types for the project. First is the resistance to wind load. So let's consider the wind load in designing glass. Next is it clear or opaque vision required? So basically these are the questions need to be answered in designing or choosing glass types for the projects. So do we need to do some to consider the privacy of the tenant, the security of the tenant, the safety of the tenant? Is it required for the fire resistance? Is it 1 hour fire rating, 1.5 hour fire rating, 2.5 fire rating? So we have to consider that as well. The acoustics, is it located near the train station or is it located in the noisy places? So we have to consider the decibels, how much decibels needed to be considered. Aesthetics, the color of the glass, reflective or non-reflective, clear, opaque, translucent, whatever is needed, we have to consider that as well. Energy performance, so this is uh, quite trending right now, the energy performance of the glass. That we could say the low emissivity of the glass, low e-coating of the glass, how much heat is transferred through glass to the building. And the last is the sustainability. Sustainability, sometimes we incorporate the green architecture on it. We are incorporating the possibilities that we can generate energies, clean energies from the glass. Now, right now, we are using solar panels for the vertical buildings, and many things has been discovered in these recent years. So we will discuss this separately. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so what is glazing? Glazing, it is an act of fixing the glass panel into the frame by locating the glass panel in a rebate and securing it with sealant or putty or beading or gasket, and should be carried out under the recommendations of BS 6262 glazing for buildings. Now, what are the terminologies on glazing? What need to be remembered when doing the glazing? So we need to remember the back clearance, which is minimum of 3 to 6 millimeters, and right now we are doing 6 millimeter minimum. What is the rebate depth with a minimum of 6 millimeters? What is the rebate width? Minimum not less than glass thickness plus 10 millimeter. What is the we have the vision side, so this is the length of your vision side minus the rivet depth. So we have the glass size, this is the glass size. Okay, so this is the glass size, this is the rivet size. So these are the important dimensions need to be considered in preparing shop drawings or production drawings in details, installation drawings. So we need to consider also the edge clearance, a minimum 2 millimeter, depending on how much is the setting blocks. Normally it is 5 millimeters or 6 millimeters. Now what is the glass thickness, and what is the clearance behind the glass, the internal. So Revit width minimum not less than glass thickness plus 10 millimeter. All right. So next is the typical glazing. So I prepared here 3 different types of framings from aluminum. I'm using the aluminum, the steel framings, and the wood framings. So we are using different types of frames here. So different configuration, different types of approaches. Now, so this is the frame. Okay, normally in aluminum we have the frame, and then we have the glazing beads, and we are using wedge gasket and the glass. Sometimes we are using wet sealant in the windows or in the curtain walls, but mostly we are using wedge gasket dry sealing for the aluminum frames. It is easy to install, not messy, and easily to uninstall if you want to replace the glass. Next is the steel framing, which is very common in the late 19th century. So we are using putty seal, 3 millimeters. We have the glass, glazing rivet, and the steel framings. So they're just using putty all weather seals. Normally they are using wet seal here for the steel framing because there is no groove for the dry glazing such as for the wedge gasket. Next is for the wood framing. Wood framing, so we have the wood framings, and then we have the beading fixed and surrounds with pin caps. So normally this is pinned here or screwed, whatever the details of the detailer, the designers is coming out. So now the putty or compound seal or 3 millimeter, we are putting it here surrounding the glass, and this is the glass. So the approach in wood framing and aluminum frame is almost the same. They are having these glazing beads. They have these glazing beads. This is the glazing beads. So this is the glazing beads. So they have the glazing beads, and then okay. So they have the same approach for these two, the aluminum frame and the wood frame. So why the glazing bead is inside? So this is inside. Okay. So this is inside. So these are inside, this is also inside. So the glazing bead normally put is inside for the safety and privacy of the tenant, right? So that's all for now. I think you have learned something else on my discussion. So we will further discuss the different glazing system in a separate topics, and also we'll discuss uh, the factors in selecting glass or selecting types of windows and curtain walls and glazings and facade in separate topics. All right, thank you for watching. Bye bye.